could have stayed for the yes, I would have never been able to. I would have been so late.
We're going to have all the panel members please sit down so we can continue. All right. Again, we're adhere to the 30-second questions and 1-minute response. Here today on State Assembly District 37 is Jim Marchant. Did I say that correctly?
Marchant.
Marchant. Don't feel bad, the English was spelled. So. If you could please give an opening statement.
My name is Jim Marchant. I'm running for Assembly District 37. One of the main reasons I'm running is I'm a businessman. I've been an entrepreneur all my life, and I'm kind of passionate about the tax issue. As we all know, the legislature last session passed the largest tax increase in Nevada history, and the most egregious part of that bill was the commerce tax that levies tax on the businesses' revenues, not profits. And I believe that we're going to have a serious issue with our economy if we don't deal with that issue. So that's one of the main reasons I'm going up there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Conquest, you want to start with the questions?
Mr. Marchant, what is your opinion of the 3 most important things you'd like to see changed if you become elected?
Well, one of them I just mentioned is the tax issue. As a businessman, I realize how much burden that's going to put on businesses, and that flows down to the families in Nevada. The other issues that I'm passionate about are voter ID and Second Amendment rights. You asked for 3, right? So those would be pretty much my top 3. Education is right there also. I think that, that's a serious issue that we need to deal with also.
Mr. Castle?
Last election, 2 years ago, Nevada went red. And in the last 2 years, essentially nothing's been done. Where do you see where you can be an impact and make a difference and can help Republicans in the state of Nevada go straight forward and succeed?
Well, once again, back to my theme of having business people in our legislature. I studied the backgrounds of the current legislators up there, and only 23% of them are business people that have signed the front side of the check. And they're passing laws that are detrimental to businesses that ultimately, like I said, flow down to the families. So I think we need some people up there that have experience with business that can kind of combat the people that don't have business experience up there and give them an idea that if you pass this law, what effect is it going to have on businesses and ultimately the economy? So that's that would be the answer.
Next question.
Chip Batara, I'm a Army veteran. So I'm a millennial Republican. So yeah. Here's the thing. On your website, you have a Reagan conservative on your website. Now, Ronald Reagan to me is just a guy, just like Lincoln or Goldwater. It doesn't really mean much to me my age. So my question to you is, how do you appeal to the new generation of Republicans who are ultimately going to, 1, pay for the stuff you're proposing, and 2, take some natural to the Republican Party if you're elected?
Well, that's a good question. People, I guess, of your age weren't around when Reagan was in office. I was, and I really admired the principles that he had. I also admired some of the advisors that he had around him, one of them being Milton Friedman, who was one of the best economists, I believe, in America. And he and Reagan both believed in free market capitalism. And I think that if I had a wish that I could have the millennials like yourself get a good education about what free market capitalism really is. So when I think of Reagan and his advisors and the principles that he was for, it's free market capitalism is one of the main ones. So I would hope that maybe by bringing attention to free market capitalism, that maybe millennials could understand exactly what it is.
Thank you.
Next question.
Hi, Jim. I'm Scott Lafado with Citizens for a Better America. My question question revolves around education and the recent tax pass last year got a lot of revenue. We poured that into the school districts apparently. And from what I've read is that the numbers have really increased, and so education is still kind of sort of around last in the nation. What are your thoughts in terms of how do we improve that? Is it a money issue? Is it not a money issue? Is it a combination of, just give us your thoughts around education and that.
Well, I think, like you said, we're ranked last. We've been ranked near last for a long, long time. And we've been throwing money at it for a long time, and we're still ranked last. So we obviously have a problem that is not being addressed. If you look at the amount of money we spend per year per student, I think it's around $10,000, $10,500, something like that. And we're ranked dead last. Texas, on the other hand, they spend about the same amount of money. They have similar demographics to Nevada, and they're ranked way higher than we are. So we have to, a start would be, let's look at what they're doing. And they're spending the same amount of money. And what our politicians want to do is they want to throw more money at it. And the system I believe, is corrupt. When's the last time the Clark County School District has been audited? I had a friend of mine as a legislator last session, and I think he questioned Skorkowski, I believe, as to where there was $181 million missing, because he had discovered that through the budget process. And he asked, where is that? And he didn't get a good answer. The guy said, well, I don't know. So I think we need, that's another area that we could start is auditing a lot of the state departments.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Assemblyman John Moore. With the civil forfeiture issues regarding our state here, would you support, it's kind of a complex question, but a simple answer, I guess. Would you support a bill or laws that would enable the civil forfeiture process, that you would have to be prosecuted and convicted before you would lose your property? In other words, you're driving down the street, you have $50,000 cash on you because you're going to go buy a house or a car or whatever, and you get pulled over. Well, now you're a drug dealer and I'm taking your money and you can't get it back. So what's your answer to trying to rein that in?
Well, I'd absolutely like to rein that in. I don't think that is right for our law enforcement people or the laws of our land. I think we need to change that, because your example is exactly right. What gives them the right to take that property before you've even been charged? And once you're charged, and if you get charged, then they can deal with it.
Thank you. Next question.
Good morning, Mr. Marchant. Mike Edwards, United States Disabled Marine and president of the Banditos Motorcycle Club here in Las Vegas. My question is, the first time DUI penalties in Nevada, they're extremely soft, misdemeanor, and there's lots of fatalities regarding DUIs directly. These are usually negotiated away in plea deals to reckless driving. So do you support harsher penalties for standard DUI first offenses, along with recommendations that the DA approve plea agreements also come with more severe punishments, and or judges just absolutely reject these plea deals?
I think they should reject the plea deals, and I think there should be harsh punishment, because drunk driving is very dangerous, not only for the person that's driving drunk, but my family. I think that I don't have a problem with the harsh laws, and they could be made harsher would be my wish.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
How will having your own business be an asset to the voters in District 37?
Well, I've been through a lot of the regulation process in Nevada that is extremely onerous. And I think back to when I first got in business in 1983.
need my water.
It was a lot simpler
Yeah.
then, there were a lot less regulations, and if I were to try to do that again, some of the things that I did back in the 80s and 90s, it would be extremely difficult to start a business because of the regulations. So that's an area that I think I could bring to attention to some of the legislators that might not be business people, is explain to them some of the issues that businesses go through just to start their business or just to operate. So I've been through them, and it's extremely difficult. You know, for example, just getting a permit to put a business on a piece of property. You have to go through the planning commission. That's painful. It takes a long time, way longer than it should. Then after that, you have to get a building permit. And the building permit regulations are so difficult and complex that you have to hire multiple people that know these regulations to even get a permit. And that costs a lot of money. So it keeps a lot of small businesses out of business because they can't afford even to start up. So that's one of the things that I think I can bring to the legislature.
Hi Jim, I'm Ron Q here. My question is, have you sat in any committees, or have you been to Carson City and sat in any committees last session?
Well, I went to Carson City a couple times last session, just mainly trying to convince some of my friends who were in the legislature not to pass this commerce tax. I also went up in December for the special session, the Faraday special session, and I was allowed to sit in with committees and actually read the bill with them and learned about the bill, and got to sit in and kind of see how the sausage is made up there. So yeah, and then also my background prior to this, I'm from Florida, moved out here 11 years ago, and I was very involved in politics back in Florida. One of the things that I did back there was one of my businesses I started in '94 was an internet service provider company. And the Florida Department of Revenue wanted me to collect sales tax on my internet service provider companies, and I didn't agree with them, and I actually fought the Florida Department of Revenue and won. As a result of that, I worked with the Florida legislature, both the House and Senate. We drafted a bill. I helped them draft a bill that made that sales tax on internet access exempt, and we passed that law, and it was made permanent. As a result of that, every other state in the country at that time adopted our same laws, and that's why none of us pay sales tax on internet access. So that's some of my legislative experience that I have in working in and around legislatures.
Thank you, Mr. Conn.
Len Connell, thanks for being the lone guy to show up here. The incumbent you're running against submitted legislation saying that square dancing should be the official dance of the state of Nevada. But I'm not going to ask you about that, okay? Okay, anyway, with your extensive history in management information technology, computers, internet, the state of Nevada loses millions of dollars a year with antiquated information technology and computerized accounting systems. They also outsource and pay profits to other states and lose money through the administrative bureaucracy that way. Are you going to try to bring some of your experience to streamlining that to the state?
I would love to. That's what I did in Florida. One of the things we did there was the way Florida deals with passing new laws. They form task forces. The governor does, the legislature does, and they bring in people like myself who have an information technology background or whatever it is they're trying to pass a law, and they'll bring experts in from various communities, whether it's a business community or government or attorneys, that type of thing, and they do a task force. So that's the way they deal with it, and I think that when I did it, I was on the Information Technology Development Task Force. That was one of the task forces I was on. And what we did was we set up the guidelines and wrote laws on how Florida could be one of the first states that automated their entire government system. We were the first state to let people go online and register a corporation, that type of thing. And that was back in the 90s. mid to late 90s. So I think you're right. I think that's something that I could bring. I have fairly vast knowledge of information technology, and I think I can add. I think that would be an asset up there.
Mr. Faust?
Robert Faust, thank you for being here today, Mr. Marchant.
Thank you.
Where do you stand on carrying weapons, concealed weapons on campus, and who should be able to carry concealed weapons on campus?
Well, the Second Amendment says that we have the right to bear arms, and that shall not be infringed, period. So I think that we should be able to carry anywhere we want, and if the campus carry bill comes up again next session, I will vote for it.
Rob Lauer, U.S. Army. I don't know if you've read in the news, but we've had a spike in crime here in Clark County. What do you attribute that spike to, and how would you deal with it as a legislature forming laws or regulations? Obviously, Metro wants more police. What's your take on that and your solution?
Well, I've read that some of what you may be mentioning in the paper is didn't they disband the gang force here that they had? I think that we need to. Gangs are a huge problem here, and I don't know whether it's only gangs that are doing the crime, but I see it in my district. I'm walking my district every day, and I get emails from people that I've talked to about. They're telling me that, oh, my neighbor's house got broke into, or my house got broke into. I've had 2 or 3 people that I've talked to that had their house broken into. And that's out of Sun City, Summerlin, where you normally don't hear of crime like that. So that's a serious issue, and how do you tackle that? Discipline is one. You got to start. It's a cultural issue. We have to start back with kids and education. It gets back to education. So as far as the police, their hands are tied in some cases. So we need to make sure that they have all the tools that they can do, and all the freedom to arrest people and keep those people in jail, so they can't get out and do the same crime again.
Mr. Jonas?
Good afternoon, Jim Jonas. I am the radio show host for Veterans of Politics. Jim, thank you very much for coming. So as we talk about taxes, the Republican Party essentially has an optics problem, right? Because every time we talk about lowering taxes, the Democrats come out and say, we're trying to push the old handicapped lady over the cliff. We don't care about people, right? So with the state exchange, the federal government picked up 98% of that cost for the first 2 years. Now we're going into year 3, and we're going to have a $4 million shortfall in the state. The governor has proposed a 5% across the board tax cut for all agencies to help make up that gap. However, on the Democrat side, especially in the Senate, you have Tick Sagerbloom that's going to push for another $4 million tax increase. So if elected, how do you change the optics and explain to people that we don't need all these tax increases, we have enough money that we can pay for this?
I agree. I think we have plenty of money. There is so much waste in our government that if we just started there, we could realize a lot of money, and we wouldn't need to raise taxes. Because if you look at the citizens of Nevada, we're taxed enough. We're struggling. I have friends and family that are struggling right now because of the economy, and by passing these taxes, it kills our economy even more. And let me give you an example of one of the unintended consequences of this commerce tax. I have a friend here in Nevada that owns a very large business. His tax liability because of this commerce tax is going to go from $20,000 a year to $1 million a year. So who do you think is going to pay for that? Well, he's not. He's got to pass it on. So the thousands of people that do business with this company every day are going to see the prices increase of the goods and services that they buy from this company. So once again, our opponents are saying, well, the businesses are going to pay for it. Well, that's not true. The businesses are going to pass it on. They're either going to go out of business or they're going to pass it on. So like I said before, those are things that I'm passionate about, tax issues. And I think with my business background and critical thinking abilities, with the experience that I've gained since I got out of college and started working, I think I can help educate people, legislators up there, or help them understand how laws like this are going to affect our economy and ultimately our families.
That ends all of our questions from the panel. Is there any other questions that we have?
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Marchant. Thank you for joining us here this morning. My name is Karen Stillman. I'm the Auxiliary Director with Veterans in Politics. And when we do these interviews, I often hear the same conversations happening, and we have the same problems. When you go, if you're elected and you go to the legislature, how do you intend to do anything different that will bring about a more positive change for our state and kind of eradicate some of the problems that we're facing?
Well, I think it has to do with leadership. And and being an entrepreneur and being the person that started the company from scratch, in order to be successful in the business community, you have to be a leader. You have to be able to think. You have to be able to adapt. We have in the business community, when you're starting a business, there are a lot of roadblocks that come up, and you have to be able to deal with it. And you have to be pragmatic about dealing with them. And, for example, dealing with issues with a government regulation, let's say. There may not be anything that I can do about it, but I'll try to minimize its impact on my business as best I can. So you have to be able to think and reason how best to run your business, and that I think I can bring to running the state. But mainly leadership, I think. And I think I can bring the leadership qualities that's needed to the legislature.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were on the panel. That being said, is anybody in the audience who has a question? We have a few minutes. Seeing no questions, Mr. Marchant, if you'd like to give your closing statement.
Like I said, I'm running for Nevada State Assembly, District 37. That is Sun City, Summerlin area, kind of northwest part of Las Vegas Valley. It is a senior community. We have a clear choice between myself and my opponent. My opponent is what I consider an establishment Republican that would rather raise taxes than deal with the problem and try to fix the problem. I don't believe in that. I think we're taxed enough already, as you could probably hear from my statements. And I want to go to Carson City and try to fix the problems that our state faces. And throwing more money at it is not going to fix it. We have to do the hard work and analyze, what are the issues, and come up with pragmatic solutions to those issues.
Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Marchant for being here today. Thank you very much.